Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in this hive of scum and villainy. So I've been to the Overwatch University subreddit ahead of time, just scraped all the questions off the first couple pages, and we're going to answer them now. Plus some footage of Grand Blue Fantasy Versus plays in the background, because it is a better game than Overwatch. First up is, does Blizzard require line of sight from the origin point to freeze people? Yes, you need line of sight to snowball the little robot in the center to actually get frozen, or it doesn't affect you. Next up, are there downsides to duoing? I mean, I know that I have this thing when I'm playing with people that I know, that I'm just not trying as hard. As a result, it has, like, this effect on me, where, like, I'm just kind of hanging out with my friend at that point, you know? I know that's an issue I have when I'm duoing with somebody. And this is why I have a separate account that I play with people on when we stream. I mean, other, like, unless you're weird like me, there's not really any downside. I suppose what could happen is if you end up, or your friend, the other way I suppose, you or your friend starts outpacing the other one in terms of improvement. You know, that's gonna get pretty awkward pretty fast if you end up climbing to, like, practically in diamond, but your friend is, like, still down in gold, you know? That's gonna get kinda awkward, and vice versa, if your friend leaves you behind instead. That's gonna get awkward, you know? But I mean, it's not necessarily an issue with duoing still, I suppose, right? But, you know, as far as it goes, like, duoing is pretty much just an improvement. You have somebody on your team that, hopefully, you can depend on to be good and at least not throw the game. So you've already got an advantage over the enemy team in regards to that, right? You know, you got 2 people on your team, assuming neither of you are the problem, that aren't the problem. So that's only 4 people on your team that can be bad, as opposed to 6 people that can be bad on the enemy team. Hooray, win-win, right? So, no, there's not really any issue, aside from, like, those, I suppose, but they're only an issue if you're weird like me, or you make it an issue, I guess. So, next up is, nope, not that game. Next up is, how likely to climb SR is Mercy? Depends how good you are at Mercy. Next up is Mercy a main healer? No. We need to move past this point as a society where we think Mercy's a main healer, because she isn't anymore. She just, like, she just can't keep up in terms of main healer. Like, you can make it work, not to say it never works with Mercy as a main healer, because that's observably false. It does work, but it's just not as good as if you're running Moira or Ana or Baptiste as a main healer, right? If you're gonna run Mercy as the main healer, the other healer, like, absolutely cannot be Zenyatta, right? Like, this is a non-negotiable matter. If your 2 healers are Lucio, Zenyatta, that's not enough. That's just not enough. If you're Mercy, the other healer, like, we're assuming, you know, you're playing Mercy as a main healer, the other healer has to be an off healer then, doesn't she? Don't they? Then it's gotta be Lucio or Bridget, because at least they have, like, AoE decent healing, right? It's not unusual if the Bridget's good for a Bridget to actually outpace an Ana, but that is dependent on the Bridget being good and the Ana being kind of bad. Not terribly so, just, like, you know, a little bit bad. But yeah, like, it has to be one of those healers if you're gonna run Mercy as a main healer, because Zen is just not gonna be good enough with Mercy. Your team's gonna be sad, you're gonna be sad, nobody's gonna be happy on your team. The other team's gonna be pretty stoked about it, though. They're gonna be pretty happy about the Mercy Zen combo. Don't do it, though. Mercy is much better as an off healer. The problem with Mercy as an off healer is she doesn't bring a defensive ultimate, right? This is why Lucio is so popular right now. He's the off healer that is good, right? We'll get back to Zenyatta with a later question. But, like, Lucio is the good off healer that has a defensive ultimate, right? That's why he's so preferred to the other healers right now. Because, like, you pick Mercy, you pick Bridget as the off healer, you don't get a defensive ultimate. And there are certain situations that you're in where if you don't have a defensive ultimate, you're kinda just fucked, right? No guarantee the defensive ultimate wins you the team fight anyway, but it gives you a chance where you would otherwise have no chance. Because if the fucking Nano Blade comes at you, if the Graviton happens, and you don't have a defensive ultimate, shit, dude. It's not looking good. So, that's why Lucio's preferred right now. Zen, we'll get to later. He's got the other defensive ultimate, and Zen's just... Anyway, so, no, Mercy is not really a main healer. You can make it work, but please avoid, if at all possible, please, thank. Next up, how many heroes should I learn to play, excuse me, for competitive? I mean, it depends on what your role is, but I think the bare minimum should be tank healers 2, and then main healer, off healer, main tank, off tank, bare minimum. And if you're DPS, the roles for DPS don't delineate quite as cleanly for DPS, but like probably one hit scan, one flanker, and then one kind of brawly type of character, so like a Mei, Reaper, who else? Symmetra, Doomfist, though Doomfist could fit flanker as well. Like, so like, hit scan, brawly type, and then a flanker, and then you got all your bases covered, right? Anything at that point is like extra. The thing is with tank and healer is that you will sometimes end up with like, only knowing 2, you're gonna end up with like a combo that isn't great, but you're at least always covered. If you can only do 1 for whatever reason, you only want to do 1, then that's fine, but like, if you're doing tank or healer, that 1 has to be a main tank or a main healer. It can't be an off one, because... And like, this will lead to situations where you end up running 2 main tanks. That's a lot better than running 2 off tanks, right? Like, if you can only do off tank or off healer, that's how you end up with the comps that are Mercy Zen, right? That's how you end up with the Bridget Lucio situations, right? That's how you end up with the Roadhog Zaryas. We don't want that. We're trying to cut down on Roadhog Zarya as a team comp thing right now, because... Oh, God. Anyway, so if you're only gonna do 1, needs to be a main healer or a main tank. For DPS, it kind of doesn't matter, because the role's more flexible in that way. There's not really, like, it has to be hit scan, has to be brawler or whatever. Though I do think you would get the most mileage out of it being a hit scan if you were only to do 1. And specifically, McCree would get you the most mileage here. The thing is, as well, with only doing 1, what if that one's banned that week, right? Then you're gonna be really fucked, aren't you? You might be fucked if your one that gets banned is the main version, so you only have the off one left. Also. But, so, that's like bare minimum. Now, I do think that since they've put the role queue in, there is definitely more incentive now for you to be more versatile in your role. Like, tank and healer, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect you to be able to play, like, half of the roster to a competent level. You'll never be able to play the entire roster of that role comfortably, because that's, like, not how people are, really, right? There's always gonna, like, first off, not everybody's got the fucking time to learn that many people, right? And secondarily, just like, there's gonna be people that you just don't jive with. Like, I fucking hate playing Orisa, dude. I fucking hate it, so I avoid playing Orisa at all costs, right? Like, it's always gonna be that way, but now that you can just, like, focus on the role, I do think that for tank and healer, that's not an unreasonable expectation for, like, half the roster. But again, it's no kind of rule either. Like, if you only really like 1 or 2 people, whatever, do you, brother. Like, it's a fucking video game. Don't need to take it so seriously, right? We're here to have fun. But, like, I think you're incentivized more with role queue, but again, you do you. Whatever the fuck, but, like, 2, I think, should be, like, the bare minimum you go for. 1 main, 1 off. And then DPS kind of doesn't matter, but, like, the 3 would be ideal. So, there you go. So, next up is Bridget a good healer for the lower levels? Yeah? Like, this thread specifically was talking, like, silver. And, I mean, you can play Brig anywhere. Like, but Brig, with low level, like, Brig is really good at stopping people doing bullshit. Right? Like, that's kind of Bridget's thing, is she's really good at policing other people's fun. And you know what people in low ranks are trying to do? They're trying to have more fun than they are win the game. And this is why Roadhog Zarya happens a lot, you know? People don't like playing Reinhardt. Reinhardt's not very fun, so they don't play Reinhardt, you know? Bridget's very good at policing people's fun. There's always gonna be, like, a Genji that doesn't really know how to play Genji or something, up to no good in low SR. And guess what? Bridget fucking claps him. That's what Bridget does. Bridget fucking polices the shit out of the... Oh god, excuse me. Oh. Polices the shit out of Genji's fun. So, yeah, Brig is fine for low levels. The problem is, like... I'm trying to think how to phrase this without coming across as being insulting. The thing is, if you're lower level Brig, you probably don't really know how to play Brig, because she has a fairly counterintuitive playstyle, mostly just because it changed so dramatically after they nerfed her. Because Brig, you could, like, solo a team in low SRs as Brig, right? Like, you could wade into, like, 3 people and fucking clap the shit out of them as old Brig, and they didn't know what to do, because they weren't good enough to stop you. This is not the case anymore, right? Like, Brig had a lot of free reign when she had a 600 health shield. And shield bash did 50 damage. Like, you could fight anybody, you know? Like, you could kill a Roadhog as Bridget. It would take you a while, don't get me wrong. It wasn't a quick process to kill a Roadhog. But you could kill a Roadhog as Bridget, and it was pretty free. Like, you didn't really have to worry about it unless the Roadhog was a god, you know? Not so much the case anymore. You can still do it, but it's gonna take you even fucking longer, and it's nowhere near as free. So Brig changed a lot after that. She's now a much more defensive character, which is clearly what the intention always was with her design. It's just that she was able to get away with being a brawler. Like, she could go in and fight and clap and spank people to death, and it was no problem. You're not so much anymore. So, you know, in lower SR, people tend to not play Brig like that. They tend to still be, like, full kamikaze, I'm gonna go spank them, oh, I'm not allowed to spank them anymore. And then they get spanked, you know? Simultaneously, there's usually less people that need protecting on your team. Let's be honest, right? Your other healer, if you're picking Bridget, there's a good chance that guy's just gonna pick Lucio anyway. You know, or he's gonna be Moira, but he's gonna be sipping some people, right? You don't need to protect a Moira as Bridget, you know? So, there's that issue where people tend to not understand how to play Bridget too well, and, like, the thing that's cool about Bridget tends to be less of a big deal in low SRs, because people are kind of doing whatever the fuck for the most part, right? But yeah, Brig is fine for low levels. You just gotta, like, be mindful that, like, you gotta be careful with how you play Bridget now. You can't play like she used to. You gotta be conservative now, unfortunately. Believe me, I miss it. I miss it just as much as the next person. But yeah, she's fine for low SRs. You just gotta be mindful of what you're doing. So, next up is best shot at solo dealing with a pocketed Widow. And this, by Mercy, specifically, right? Like, being pocketed by Baptiste is a little bit more unusual. You know, this guy's talking about Mercy. So, like, the best way to deal with it, like, if you're a support, first off, you can't. Sorry. If you're playing a support, you just try and avoid the Widow as much as you can. If you're playing support, sorry. That's what you do. You're not gonna deal with the pocketed Widow. You weren't gonna deal with the Widow. You're not gonna deal with the pocketed Widow, right? So, sorry. Life's hard like that sometimes. But, if you're tank, you know, the answer that people will frequently give you is Winston Diva. And that's fair enough, right? Like, you know, you understand, like, on an intuitive level where that one's coming from, I'm sure. But the best answer for a tank player is actually Hammond. And there's a good reason for that. You might just kill the Widow flat out through Mercy's healing. D.Va and Winston, not so much. With D.Va and Winston, you're unlikely to kill them unless the Mercy is bad and you're able to kill the Mercy first, then move on to the Widowmaker. This is dependent on the two people kind of being bad, though. And as we know, any play that revolves around the enemy team being bad is itself a bad play. So, now, Hammond, though, if you slam on the Widowmaker, you can kill the Widowmaker through Mercy's healing as long as you have good aim, right? Not even necessarily like good aim, just decent aim. It's not really hard to hit people after you've slammed them because they're going to be in a very predictable motion, up, down, you know? Unless they've got a weird movement ability. Widow can hookshot, but you can just follow her and slam again. That's the secret sauce for that one right there. Just follow her and slam again because your cooldowns are lower than her grappling hook cooldown. So you can just follow her and do it again. And if she doesn't have grappling hook, she's fucked, brother. And you can always get away. With Winston D.Va, there's the chance you die or lose your mech, which usually results in death because, let's face it, Widow's behind her team, right? But Hammond, you can basically always get away. You have close to zero chance of dying as long as you don't do something stupid while you're trying to kill the Widowmaker, right? So, as long as you have decent aim, Hammond can kill Widow through Mercy's healing. And then if you might get Mercy as well, right? You never know. You might be able to get the Mercy because she's like not paying attention and you slam on her instead and then you kill her and then you go on to the Widowmaker who now doesn't have her pocket. The goal really is to deal with the Widowmaker first, because the Mercy is no threat. The problem is you need to be playing a specific person to kill the Widowmaker through the Mercy's healing, right? And for tanks, that's going to be Hammond. Now, if you can kill the Mercy, that's great. But Mercy can just leave. Like, Mercy is better at survival than most people give her credit for. Like, Mercy's actually a pretty survivable champion. Hero, sorry, wrong video game. So, like, you have better odds killing the Widowmaker through the Mercy most of the time. But if you can kill the Mercy first, great. But, you know, depends. So, anyway, that's your best bet for tank. If you're playing Hammond or if you're playing D.Va or Winston, then you're not really planning to kill them necessarily, unless they're bad. You're planning more just to occupy those two people for a long period of time, which you'll do. The thing is, it does come at more risk to your life, right? And again, like, the payoff is just so much lower. We're talking about occupying these two people, whereas for Hammond, we're talking about, like, killing them, maybe, right? Like, I mean, maybe as well for the other two, but it's a lower chance. Now, if you're playing DPS, then your best bets, because again, we're trying to do the same thing, right? We're trying to kill Widowmaker through Mercy's healing. We also still need to be able to get to Widowmaker, right? Now, the obvious answer, be a better Widowmaker. Hooray, fantastic, we've solved the problem. I just need to click on them better than they click on me. Oh wait, they've got a Mercy, so they've got to click on them better twice than they can click on me better, right? Because I kill Widow, Mercy's gonna res her because Widow's probably in a safe place where Mercy can stand around the corner and res her, right? So I probably have to kill the Widow twice, but whatever, you know? If you're a good Widowmaker, fantastic, great, you've solved Overwatch for the most part. But outside of just aim better, the best bets you've got are pretty much Genji Doomfist, because they can get to them easily, and they have the power to kill Widowmaker consistently through Mercy's healing. Tracer would have that kind of burst potential as well, but it is much harder for Tracer to get to certain Widowmaker spots, right? Like, if you're on, like, Hollywood, and Widow's up on the roofs, what are you doing as Tracer, right? You're waiting on the elevators, hoping to get up there, right? You're just much worse at dealing with Widow in that circumstance than Genji or Doomfist, because you can't get to him, right? There are some maps that are not really all that vertical that Tracer can do just fine on in that regard. A lot of King of the Hill maps will be this way, where they don't really have much high ground. Like King's Row isn't that vertical, won't be that hard for like Tracer to get there either. But for the most part, Genji and Doomfist are going to be your better bets because of their better vertical mobility. And they can burst Widowmaker to death through Mercy's healing. And then, here's the pivotal part, right? Don't leave immediately after you kill the Widowmaker, because Mercy is going to try and res that Widowmaker, right? So you have to guard the body a little bit. And if you're playing a flank, like if you're Hammond, you know, you're not going to be very sneaky about this. If you're playing Doomfist or Genji, you can disappear around a corner after killing Widowmaker, but stay in the area and see if Mercy comes back, and then kill the Mercy as well when she starts trying to res the Widowmaker. Best case scenario is like, you kill Widow, hide, Mercy comes back, you kill Mercy, but Mercy got the res off, now you can kill Widow again with Mercy not here to help her. You know, that's like best case scenario. Don't aim for that though, just aim for killing the Mercy when she comes back to res the Widow. Don't be like, I'm gonna stall it just enough so I can kill Widow. Like, don't do that. Just kill the Mercy when she comes back, right? It's just like, sometimes you'll do this and then be like, sick, now I can kill Widowmaker again. But don't aim for that. But yeah, those are your best bets as far as the DPS go, outside of just aim better. And again, if you can kill the Mercy first, fantastic, you know, but again, Mercy's GA's cooldown is 2 seconds. Widowmaker's hookshot is, I think, 13 or 14 seconds. It's like 12, 14 range? I should check, right? We should be professional about this. We should check what the cooldown on that one is. Widowmaker, Overwatch. Not Overwatch 2, that game's not out yet. That's not going to be out for a long time, probably. Widowmaker's hookshot cooldown is, 12 seconds. It was on the lower end of what I said. It's a 12-second cooldown. That's her only escape, right? 12-second cooldown. And if you see her use it, shit, dude, that's free real estate. I'm going on her right now. GA's cooldown is 2 seconds. It's a lot harder to kill Mercy than it is to kill Widowmaker. Anyway, there you go. Those are your best bets as far as killing the pocketed Widowmaker go. Outside of just aim better. Now, back to Zenyatta. Zenyatta feels a lot harder to play now. How can I die less and have more impact in the current meta? So, like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, dog. I'm gonna be 100% straight with you. Pick a different hero. Like, if you love Zenyatta, if Zenyatta is your jam, and you love Zenyatta, by all means go for it, but, like, you're gonna have to work really hard to make Zenyatta work right now. Like, you are gonna have to work really hard. Zen, like, he just doesn't really have that much going for him in comparison to the other healers right now. The thing he has going for him is he is one of the healers with a defensive ultimate, but to be honest with you, Transcendence is kind of not as good as Sound Barrier anymore. I used to think the reverse of this, but the way the game is right now, there's a lot of burst damage that can actually kill you through Transcendence, but you can't be killed through Sound Barrier, like getting headshot, Rip Tire, Deadeye, you know, like there's a lot of burst damage in the game right now, and like, Nano Blade still is like a problem. That'll kill you through Transcendence. Like, you don't die to these things through Sound Barrier, though. So that's like, even Transcendence, like, it's not as, like, it's still fine in, like, a lot of circumstances, but I think currently there are a lot of things, and, like, anti-heal as well, right? Like, anytime Ana's popular, Zenyatta's gonna be worse by extension, because Bio Grenade, Transcendence stops working. I'm in the Graviton. Transcendence. Splash! And now you're all gonna die anyway. You know, doesn't happen with Sound Barrier. So, you know, with the burst damage and the Ana situation, I think it just makes a lot more sense to pick Lucio in most circumstances. But again, if you're a big fan of Zenyatta, you play Zenyatta, but you're gonna have to work really hard. And to be honest with, like, I'll be 100% honest with you right here as well. you're gonna need to get really good at clicking on people, right? Like, that's the thing you're bringing as Zenyatta, right? Like, every hero's got the thing you're trying to leverage. And the thing Zenyatta brings that the other healers don't bring is he is a DPS disguised as a support, right? And he makes critical targets take more damage. So you need to leverage that as hard as you can. So you need to get really good with how you use Discord Orb, and you need to get good at clicking on people. Because if you're not doing those two things, you're not bringing Zenyatta's value, and you're getting less out of him than you would be anybody else. Because, like, you're certainly not bringing healing, right? So, like, to be honest with you, you're just going to need to get really good at execution. And I mean, like, there's stuff you can do, like, you can work on your positioning and stuff like that, try and stay safe, you know, play closer to your team when there's divers so they can help you, communicate with your team so they help you, you know, that kind of thing. But you're gonna need to be able to click on people. And you're like, there are gonna be a lot, like Overwatch, there are gonna be a lot of games where you're gonna need to click on that Genji better than he can click on you, because your team are not gonna help you. And Genji's gonna come for you because you're playing Zenyatta. So you're gonna need to show him why he's only the pupil and you're the master, right? And that's really fucking hard. Yeah, that's hard to do, dude. So, like, it's gonna be a problem. And, like, you know, it's not exactly actionable advice, is it? Well, get better at the game and you'll do better as Zenyatta. But, like, a lot of it's gonna be execution-based, I'm sorry. Like, outside of, like, positioning and communicating with your team so they help you, you're still gonna need to click on people. I know, unfortunate, isn't it? But he's a DPS pretending he's a support. It's how it has to be, I'm sorry. I do think Zen needs some help. Like, I'm not entirely sure what, still, at this point, but, like, he needs, like, something to bring him up. An idea I saw that I like, actually, is, there were a couple of ideas I saw that were a good idea. One was to give him another orb, like, lower the healing per second on the orb a little bit and give him a second orb. Or keep the current orb as it is and put damage reduction on it, so that it's the inverse of Discord Orb, right? Which makes fucking amazing sense thematically if Harmony Orb gave damage reduction and Discord Orb gives damage, increases damage, right? And, you know, how much damage reduction is, like, a debatable point. I think it should just mirror Discord Orb, which I believe is 25%. Like, thematically, it should absolutely just mirror Discord Orb, but I'm gonna look it up right now. Because if it's, like, 50% damage reduction, then obviously, no, that's too much. And that's what it used to be, but I know they've reduced it since then. Discord Orb, 25% damage received, yeah. So I think it should just be 25% damage reduction, if we go with that idea on the Harmony Orb. That's not an insane amount of, damage reduction. So, you know, and if, like, it's too much, alright, like 15%, you know. I think that would be a good buff, you know. It would make people, like, it would increase his synergy with flankers, because Zenyatta already plays well with flankers. If you could make the flanker tankier by extension, that would further the synergy with them, as well as helping with the tank situation as well. Because Zenyatta currently brings nothing to healing a tank outside of Transcendence. But if he could put damage reduction on the guy, like, you're playing with you're like, alright, Tracer, go. But then you're like, oh shit, Reinhardt's about to get got, and you put the Harmony Orb on him before he takes that big burst of damage when the engage happens, right? This increases Zenyatta's skill cap pretty significantly, to be honest with you. It's the sort of thing that feels really minor when you talk about it, but, like, having that kind of agency over how much damage the people are going to take would actually dramatically increase his skill cap, I think. So that's the idea I like the most. I like that more than having 2 orbs and reducing the healing per second. And I think just like, thematically it's fucking incredible, right? The whole yin-yang motif, it would be so good if Harmony Orb also did damage reduction. It would really bring the whole character together, I feel. as well as I think being like the decision to make. And while we're at it, maybe increase Transcendence's healing slightly. And I do mean slightly, just enough so that Nanoblade can't kill you through it. Because right now you can. It's not exactly free, like the timing on the slash has to be really good. But like, just make it not possible. Right? Like, just buff the healing, and like, it doesn't need to be much, like, literally buff the healing per second on Transcendence by like 50, and the problem is solved. And like, you know, whatever. Maybe make it so that the initial burst of Transcendence has a cleansing property, so that if people get splashed before you use Transcendence, you can use Transcendence next to them, and the initial burst will cleanse the debuff. And other debuffs as well, right, where applicable. If they're on fire, it cleanses fire, right? Like, have the initial burst do that. Don't make it a persistent effect, just make the initial burst on Transcendence do that. Because then, the counterplay isn't removed from Transcendence, right? Because I think it's good that Bio Grenade does counter Transcendence, but I think that it needs to have counterplay to the Bio Grenade as well, because right now, it's just a flat hard counter. So I think that if it had an initial burst that cleanses it, now you can play around the Ana using Bio Grenade, and the Ana has an option. Ana gets to say, I need to save my Bio Grenade, because I'm going to need this when Zenyatta pops Transcendence, right? And I don't want to use it before he uses Transcendence, because then he can cleanse it, right? I think that creates engaging gameplay, if the initial burst cleanses debuffs. And I do mean all debuffs, like Frozen, Burn, Anti-Heal, just cleanses it. But it's not a persistent effect. This is very pivotal. It has to be just when he activates it. I think that would be sick. And then just make it so Nanoblade can't kill you through it. Let its counterplay be Bio Grenade and burst, like straight burst damage, like Deadeye and getting headshot by Widowmaker, right? Don't have it be like this fucking real tight Nanoblade timing where you're like, this is the thing I want to use Transcendence to counter, and then it just counters me anyway, right? Like, that's dumb. I don't like that. Anyway, like, got real off topic there, but I think that those would all be good things to do for Zenyatta. So next up, and this is the last question for this week, is there any substitute for competitive mode to practice getting better at a hero? Not really, no. I think the best you can do, and this is strictly in regards to improving mechanics, is free-for-all. Because you get to just practice clicking on people, right? Like, you get to practice your execution in that kind of situation. But outside of that, I don't think there's any substitute, no. Like, quick play, like, people like to say, oh, you learn in quick play. You don't learn shit in quick play, and we all know it. Right? Like, we all know that's bullshit. That's just what you say when you're in competitive and you're mad that this person is bad, right? You say, well, go learn in quick play. We all know that's bullshit. We all know you don't actually learn anything in quick play. It's better now that roll queue's in the game, but like, we all know that people are not taking it seriously, and you're not going to be playing in any kind of situation that's actually analogous to competitive. We all know this. Let's stop pretending, right? You don't even get to play the full fucking game. Like, the fact that you play around on attack and defense is kind of important. And you don't do that, right? Like, you don't learn anything in quick play. The best you can do is free-for-all, purely for mechanical stuff, which really doesn't help you if you play someone like Mercy. If you play someone like Widow or Genji, great, right? Hammond, cool. Like, you know, otherwise, you don't necessarily gain too much out of that. So, you know, that's the best you got, though. So there you go. That's what I got for you. No. So now we're gonna watch this set with this potato right here. As you can see, I've been playing a lot more characters lately. No particular reason, really. I guess, like, you know, when I'm playing fighters, I get to play 3 people at once. That's cool. I don't get to do that when I'm playing Grand Blue, so I guess I feel more inclined to switch around a little more. I like a lot of the characters as well, so, you know, there's that. Lil Wayne is probably still my favorite overall. But I like Percy, I like Matera, mostly just because I really like Matera's supers, to be honest with you. I think she has the best looking supers in the game. Vegeta has really good supers as well, actually. But like, I like everybody. Percy has a really good super as well. His enhanced super is great. I think I get that on the potato in one of these games, the enhanced super. Anyway, yeah, I like a lot of them. Matera is kind of just not as good as Fairy, though. That's the depressing part. Because Matera and Fairy are the only two zoners in the game. I like Matera a lot more as a character, but she is kind of just a worse zoner than Fairy is. So, you know, that's unfortunate. But, you know, like, if you're playing a fighting game, that's nothing you can't overcome, right? Like, tier lists don't really matter that much as far as fighting games are concerned. Like, they matter, but nowhere near as much as people think they do. My favorite example of this is the Tekken people. Because the Tekken boys, there's a guy over there who regularly gets top 8 at all of the big tournaments, playing the lowest rated character in the game, which is the bear, the panda. He plays that, and boy, he's really good at that character. And he's really honest about it whenever people ask him, like, so, you know, you're playing this, like, low-tier character, what do you have to do to make up for this? And then he goes, you know, there's, like, a self-balancing aspect of this, where, like, because the panda is a lower-tier character, people don't really know how to play against them properly. Like, the top-tier characters, you see a lot, so you learn how to play against them a lot better. The lower tier characters, how often do you see them? You don't see them, so people don't know what to do as much. And you just have to acknowledge the weaknesses, like the weakness of the bear is they can't sidestep without getting too into it, so they can't dodge as easily as other people. And it's like, you know, you just have to accept that and deal with that as an issue, and then work around this as best you can, you know? Whatever it is that's keeping them low tier, you just try and avoid being in the situation where that's a problem, right? And he does well. He does well on this low-tier character all the time. All these big events, playing against the best people, he gets, like, top 8 every time. He's great. Tier lists, fighting games, they don't matter that much. They matter, but they don't matter. You know, they don't matter. They matter, but they don't matter. It's not a problem. Fucking hate the potato, by the way. What an annoying... I don't hate the potato, to be fair. I hate the people that pay the potato. Because you know what the potato player says? The potato player says, I don't like neutral Unga Bunga. Rolls right up to you. Charlotta is the Unga Bunga character of this game. I've got all these moves that are really good and really hard to punish, so I'm just gonna spam the fuck out of them, and it's your job to stop me. And that's when I changed to Percy. I see, like, this guy a lot. There's another potato player I see a lot, because of the time of day I play. So when I see them, I'm like, it's time, and I change to Percy. And then when they start spinning at me, alright, I'm just gonna use my invincible startup move. I'm gonna wait, as soon as I see that fucking potato budge an inch, I'm slapping the shit out of him with my DP, and he's not gonna like it. Anyway. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. More than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started streaming on Twitch Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST to 11 EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. And if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.